Hello and welcome back to Woodhill Park again. I've been taking another look at Motorail as you all seem to enjoy my update, and I have got some of these, what are they, articulated Motorail car transporters which were used in the 60s. Car flats were used like from the 70s, 80s and finally into the 90s, as well as closed wagons, and gov sort of parcel vans were converted to carry cars as well, as vandalism was quite rife in the 70s and 80s, and nasty people were chucking bricks off bridges, so that screwed up the service of it, and they decided to have covered wagons in the end. But they did start with these articulated sort of transporters, and I think I read somewhere Ford even started using these to transport brand new Ford cars as well, and I think I've seen a picture somewhere. And to represent the 1960s train, I've got my Class 52 Western Duke pulling this train, just to give it the 60s feel. There's even a police car being taken on holiday. Plenty of Ford Anglers. I'm afraid I haven't got too many 60s cars. These are articulated bogie wagons like by Hornby, and they were reissued I think in 2000s, but they originate back to the 70s and there's not much detail on them. Some of you may remember when I built this Royal Mail depot, I've got a warehouse either end, and the other side of this beam there's a warehouse cut into the beam actually, or the beam cut through the warehouse. But up this end of the platform was just a waste of space really, but I thought, why not have a go at making this a little bit of a Motorail terminal. I may add some more stuff to this area over here. It's wasteland at the moment, but maybe I can extend the platform or do some sort of loading ramp, I don't know. Then I can have it as a dual purpose thing really, a Royal Mail depot at one end and some sort of Motorail terminal at this end. I'm going to have a think on that, and if anybody's got any ideas I'll be pleased to hear from you as well. At the moment they look pretty good sitting here on the siding. I can only get 4 flats in the siding as it's not that long, so the 6 I've got won't fit. Lima also did their version of a car carrier, which was more of a take on a continental version, as they also produced a lot of stuff in HO, but it's still quite a good model. The one what I've got is sort of pretty much just spare bits. It's not very really reusable condition. It's a bit of a mess, but yeah, it was a fair model in its day. The BR liveried govs that were baggage wagons as well, and postal carriers. In this case it is labelled up as an intercity Motorail. This is a newer Hornby version, but it is Lima tooling, and you can still find Lima versions on the market, be it without flush glazing and no sort of nim pockets, as Hornby updated those sort of things, but otherwise it's pretty much the same Lima tooling. And I'll be searching for a few old Limas, I think, just to extend my collection of govs, as the Hornby one fetches £45 or more, which is a bit extortionate. Oh, I beg your pardon, I got it wrong. This is a Bachmann version. I also have a Hornby in Executive, which was an ex-Lima, but Hornby does do the same sort of livery, which was an ex-Lima as well. I got myself totally confused there. The Bachmann version is by far the better version, better detailing, better overall quality really. But saying that, the Hornby ex-Lima version is still pretty good as well. The Hornby articulated car carriers are fairly basic. They've got no handrails at the top and very little detailing. I haven't bothered to weather these, as I won't be running them regularly, and I probably will end up selling them eventually. But they are just a revamp of like the 1970s ones that they used to sell in sort of, I suppose, 2000s sort of packaging. But they're okay. But they only come with Oxford die-cast Ford Anglias, so I've managed to put a few other cars, including a police car that doesn't really go with them, just to reflect the 60s. Bronx would often shunt these around the station and put them in order ready for the train to depart. Apologies as usual for the noise in the background. It sounds like a whole lot of street racing is going on out there at the moment, and this is quite common these days at night time, as the police don't seem to stop anybody acting like total idiots. So you can hear a lot of petrol heads going nuts out there. It's just like Mad Max now. Some of you with good hearing might have noticed that I'm having trouble with my 08s. The sound seems to be dying. I'm not sure whether it's a speaker or whether the file is corrupt, and I need to download the Hornby 08 profile again. But yeah, it just seems to wither away and go to virtually nothing and distorted, really quiet. So maybe the speaker's a problem, I don't know, but I'm going to have to look into it, and it's just another one of those strange issues that you have when you run a model railway, especially with all this technology these days. Things just don't do as they're told. Now we have more of a 1970s, 80s train that probably would have been around in my era, with the car flaps and sleeper coaches, govs, car flats all travelling behind. So more of a 70s, 80s scene really, as this is the formation you would have seen in that era. And as it progressed from the 70s into the 80s and on to the 90s, the cars were taken separately, so there would have only been sort of general wagons or govs and car flats. Then this in turn sort of carried on until there was fully covered wagons from like the 80s into the 90s, which I only have one, and it's by EFE, and Helgen do sets as well, so it's a joint venture between Helgen and EFE. But that's what would have continued on until it was cancelled in sort of early 2000s. and First Great Western had a go at it again, but that also failed eventually, which is a real shame. This was an interesting time on the railways, and I thought it warranted a bit more time spent on it, as most of you are very interested in this subject and some people have never even heard of the service. So I just thought I'd revisit it and do my best to explain what I know so far, and I'm sort of continually sort of researching it, as it's quite an interesting subject, and it's a real shame, as I keep saying, that this doesn't exist nowadays. So thanks again for watching, it's much appreciated, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now. Just to play the video out, here's my Class 31, sadly only with TTS sound, but I'm hoping to change that in the future, and it's pulling some TEA wagons by Hornby that I repainted, and just lately I weathered them with Tamiya weathering powders, and they're pretty rusty as you can see, and I enjoyed doing this. I also recoupled them to small tension locks, and I'm thinking of possibly adding more to the rake, so I haven't put a tail lamp in place yet, but I thought you might be interested to see my sort of, well, one of my latest projects I've been working on, as well as playing around with Motorail. Anyway, this really is goodbye until I see you next time. Cheers for watching, bye for now.